Hi everyone, Stepan here. I'm waiting for another 15+10 training game, and hopefully it's as good as the last one. We will see. By the way, it's Wednesday, and every Wednesday and Saturday Milan and I have live lessons, or I'm getting a lesson from Milan. So today at 5 p.m. Central European or Croatian time, that would be 11 a.m. Eastern time. You can watch the lesson live. There's a link to Milan's Twitch in the description. Okay, let's see. My opponent plays d4. I'm going to play d5. Let me just see if the board is okay. Okay, the board is okay. We have a normal Queen's Gambit. I'm going to play the Slav. Okay, and he plays e3. So this could still be a Meran or an anti-Meran, but it could also be a kind of Collie system slow game. So let's see what happens. I could play bishop f5 here, which is I could play bishop f5, and I've played it before, but I could also play e6, which leads to calmer positions. Bishop f5, of course, runs into queen b3. So bishop f5, queen b3, queen b6. Okay, no, I'm going to play e6. I want to not waste time in the opening, and I want to play positions that I know well. I don't really mind my bishop being still on c8, because we are now in a mainline Meran Semi-Slav, which I know pretty well. He can play bishop b3, d3, or e2. Let's see what he chooses. Against bishop b3, I go b4 straight away. Against this, I play a6 and c5. He needs to play e4 here. If he castles, then black is already slightly better. And now I got in c5, basically for free. If he'd played e4, then c5 leads to either the Reynolds attack or the main line, which is even crazier. So basically after e4, c5, he can either choose to play d5 or e5, and both of those positions are very crazy. And this position I've actually played in a tournament game once and I drew, and I played it in a tournament game once and I lost from a completely winning position. So having said that this is equal for black already doesn't mean that it's easy, but at least now that I got in c5 without any consequences, meaning e5 or d5, then my bishop comes to b7 and I have a pleasant position. So this is, for the moment, the perfect semi-Slav for black. I don't know b3. I wasn't gonna push c4 anyway. I don't know what the point of b3 is, probably bishop b2, but he needs to play for e4. So I'll just play bishop to b7, which is the most natural looking move. And then against bishop b2, I'm going to play rook c8 and delay moving my f8 bishop for the moment, because he could still take on c5, and then of course bishop c5 is saving a tempo. Now, of course, e4 is possible, but slightly risky. And after b3, e4 doesn't make too much sense, I think. But if he plays e4, I'm going to play bishop e7. Yeah, I like my position. This is actually the position I was trying to achieve in my second ever tournament game back in 2016, I was playing a 1900 rated player, and Mate said, so the story about this tournament is, well, basically the story of my first chess tournament, but I got to play the Croatian team cup, and I played board 4 for my team, and I knew nothing about chess. I'd only been playing on ChessCube and on chess.com, and before each game, Mate would say, well, you can play this, this is okay. And before this game, he said, okay, you're black against d4, you're going to play the Semi-Slav. Here are the plans, you want to play c5, blah, blah, blah. And I got in c5, but my opponent played a4 very early on, breaking my structure. And I remember sacrificing a pawn, and the position was equal because I broke with c5. So I offered the draw in an equal position late in the middle game, and my opponent accepted. So that was my first half point ever, and I was really happy. So ever since then, ever since May 2016, my second tournament game, I've been playing the Semi-Slav. Why doesn't cd4 just win a pawn? His knight is attacked on c3. He'd completely neglected my last move, which threatened to win a pawn. Okay, I'll play it because I don't see a refutation. I mean, he doesn't lose a piece because he can take on d7. Very peculiar. Have to be slightly worried about bishop h7, but not really. So queen takes. Where does his knight go? Knight e2? That's ugly. Yeah, this knight e5 business, this was pretty bad for my opponent. Okay, I mean, capturing on e3 seems natural, but can I play queen c6 or queen d5? Against queen d5 he has knight f4. Against queen c6 if he plays knight f4 then g5, but if queen c6 he could play e4 and then knight e4, bishop e4, queen e4, and I win another pawn. I like queen c6. Okay, queen c6, e4, knight e4, knight d4. That could be problematic. So I'm just going to take first. I I don't think queen c6 works because of e4, knight e4, knight d4, and then I'm not threatening mate anymore. And I still have to be slightly worried about bishop h7 after I castle, but I don't think it's going to be such a big deal. Against queen c6 now, he can go f3, and that's the only defense. But queen c6 runs into rook c1, so I'm just going to develop my bishop first. I can play bishop a3 to prevent rook c1. I can also play bishop e7. I can play bishop d6 to threaten queen c6, because then he would have to play f3. I like bishop e7, it's the safest move. Because for the moment, if he plays rook c1, I can just trade and either take the bishop or force his knight back. This may be a bit too passive, but I'm really concerned about bishop g5. If I get too carried away with my bishop. And for the moment, I don't see a way for him to try and punish me or do anything too active. My queen is still defended by the knight, that's very important. I could choose to just trade queens at any point with rook d8, or force the knight back to c1, which would, I think, be worse, because then I can play queen c6 or queen d5. I'm okay on the clock, I have 10 minutes, so I think I can spend some time during the next few moves thinking of a clear way to not complicate this position, but get a winning edge. I mean, this is already probably winning for me, but okay. His plan is to go rook d1, I guess. So if I castle, wait, can Can I play knight d5 and bishop f6? Knight d5, bishop d5. Bishop d4. His rook is trapped. He has to be careful. If castles rook d1, then queen c6 threatens mate. He plays f3 or knight f4. If knight f4, then g5. If f3, then I don't have knight d5 because bishop h7, but I still castle because I want to get my king out of the way. Okay, rook d1, queen c6. With tempo. I don't see how that can be wrong. I'm defending the e4 square, so he doesn't have bishop e4. Okay. Knight d5 seems very tempting, giving up the h7 pawn, but I think that's a bit too much. He probably wants to go knight to d4 next. What do I do against that? h6, knight d4, queen b6. Knight f5 attacks my bishop and my queen, so that's not good. And defends his bishop. If h6, knight d4, queen c7, that could work. Okay, I'm going to play h6 because I need to save this pawn, basically. And I'm expecting knight d4. And I'm going to retreat back to c7. Maybe this is a bit too passive, but if knight d4, queen c7, I always have queen g3 ideas. I'm not sure. I'm not sure about this position. I probably should have considered bishop c5 instead of bishop e7, and on bishop g5 playing knight d5. The fact that his rook is still trapped on a1 is great for me, of course, but and with h6 and castles, I had solidified my position. Okay, so I'm pawn up, I provoked f3. I don't think I should have any issues. Okay, queen c7 was my plan, so I'm going to play it. Okay, he wants to play rook a2. Can I go in with queen g3, or do I start with knight d5, threatening knight c3? I like knight d5. Knight d5, rook c1, queen g3, bishop f2. Knight d5, rook c1, queen g3, bishop f2, queen g5. And everything is solid, and I'm threatening bishop h3. So I like that, I'm going to play that. I am blocking my bishop for the moment, but I have a really strong threat. If he doesn't play rook c1, then I simply play bishop f6 after bishop to d2. And bishop f6, what does he do? Let's see. I don't know what he does. This seems very strong. Because queen c3, queen b2 runs into queen b6. Yeah, this should be game over, I think. I think that's it. Okay, that's a check. So only move. But he doesn't have a square for his bishop. He can play bishop e1, but then I trap his bishop on g7. Okay, so this is dropping with check. Let's do that first. And now what's the best way to play? Okay, I mean, resignation was in order. This was tactically really weak from my opponent. I mean, okay, let's analyze this. I want to show you one thing. After a6, he has to play e4. In the game he castled, which gives me an easy c5. But if he plays e4, then c5 runs into either this, which is very scary, where I would play c4, and bishop c2, bishop b7, for example, takes, and then he has ideas of doing this and putting pressure on the pawn on e6. Alternatively, he could play e5, and these positions get mental. This is just, as you can see, there are 800 games from here. And this is a very theoretical line. Now, knight b5 is the main move. However, there are tricky moves which he could play, which are not knight b5. And I faced several of them. But let's say he does play knight b5, and then I play a takes b5, he takes on f6, I take with the g-pawn. And there's a famous Anand game with bishop b7 here, or on the next move. Maybe on the next move. Queen b6, queen e2. Okay, now bishop b7. Yes, okay. This is what Anand had invented. This wasn't theory up until 90 something. Usually people would play b4 here, save the pawn. And after queen b6, it's of course impossible to take either pawn. So yeah, I mean, and also here after gf6, it's impossible to take either pawn because bishop takes, runs into queen check, and knight takes, runs into queen b6, and then some mad positions. But anyway, he played this, and then h3 is just a wasted move, and then here he just blundered. And the thing I'm wondering is, after cd, knight d7, queen d, knight e2, can I play queen c6 straight away? Because I was calculating e4, knight e4, knight d4. And let's say I play queen to d5 here, and he has to take, otherwise I move my knight and checkmate him. So now knight f3. Yeah, maybe it's not so good. So d3, bishop e3, bishop e7, queen b1. Castles, I feel is okay, rook d1 is okay, queen c6 is okay, f3. And here, knight d5, bishop h7, king h8. Let's say bishop here. And bishop c5. Yeah, I don't think I have enough here. I think h6 was correct. And then knight d4, queen c7 is correct. And here I was expecting this, which is probably much better for me. Not king h2, but king h1. Yeah, this is just because I can go here. And maybe he gets out with this, but I doubt it. So yeah, this was a really weird and kind of weak game from my opponent, and I know the opening really well. This is, someone asked me which openings I know. This is the only opening I know, and all the other openings, maybe I know something about the Caro-Kann, but the Semi-Slav I know, and unfortunately for my opponent he doesn't. Okay, another victory. Thank you very much for watching, and stay tuned for more chess. Bye bye.